We're excited to have some special guests on this episode of the Kingsgrove Sports Centre podcast. Well, as you can see, we do have some very special guests here, and we are going to take a very definite topic, women's cricket, Stewie.
Yep.
And as our special guest, we've got none other than Alex Blackwell, Australian legend. Welcome, Alex.
Thank you so much. It's great to be here.
And on my immediate right, we have Brittany Carter from Ladies Who Legspin fame.
Hello, everyone.
Before we get started, particularly on your career and the direction of women's cricket at the moment, Brittany, you want to tell us a little bit more about Ladies Who Legspin?
Sure. So we started off with Ladies Who League during winter,
Yep.
Which is obviously about rugby league. And during that time, we decided that there wasn't enough promotion for other women in sport. So we started doing bits and pieces of rugby union, netball, cricket. And I actually played cricket, so I was dead keen on actually focusing on a podcast that just focused on cricket.
Rightio.
We actually had Alex and Lisa Stalaker on a little trial Ladies Who Legspin episode one time, and that went really well and we got some good feedback, so we decided to make that into a podcast.
Rightio.
And so essentially that happens during the summer. It has a heavy focus on the Women's Big Bash, and it's been going for about 3 to 4 years now. I do that with Mary Kay, who runs Ladies Who League, and it's good fun.
Oh, awesome. And you also work in the media industry. ABC, is it?
Yes, I do, for ABC Grandstand, yeah.
Rightio. And in regards to your playing, the Mighty Slayers.
Yeah, the Mighty Slayers. I don't know how much good I do for them.
Yep.
I had a little cameo last Saturday.
Yep.
The first game I could make all season with work now. Unfortunately, being in the sports media business means that you don't get weekends off all the time. But I love playing with them. They're a great group of girls, and we've got some great players as well in first grade, as you would know, with Renee Farrell and Nicola Carey, and now Talia Wilson has also been signed for the Sixers.
So do you aim to make your way up the grades, Britt?
No, I'm very happy being a specialist fielder in third grade. And
maybe you should come to Kingsgrove Sports, get some coaching. Hamish is a pretty good coach.
Oh, I
have had a few sessions with him myself. So
there you go.
So how did a young lady like yourself get into cricket?
Good story. So I was blogging for a website called Sports Girls back 4 to 5 years ago while I was at uni. And believe it or not, at the time, women's sport wasn't covered that well. So we were just covering anything we could and putting it up on a website. And nobody at the time was really a specialist in cricket writing. And the Women's Ashes was happening over in England, which Alex was a part of.
Yep.
So I was watching that really early hours of the morning, sort of put my hand up and thought I'll try something new. And I just thought it was the best thing ever. So I decided to just contact my local club, which was the Slayers. And
so this was quite late.
Yeah.
It wasn't something that you
Which
were
is why I'm
into.
so terrible at it.
I think we must have won that Ashes to inspire you to start playing.
Yeah.
We haven't won all of them, but most of them.
You
we've
did,
won.
yeah. And Renee Farrell got a hat trick in one of the games, which is one of the reasons I really, I think, am a fan of hers. But
Bankstown Oval, 2011. I remember that vividly.
I think I was there.
There you go. Yeah.
And the legendary Alex Blackwell. I don't think too much needs to be said, but we will say it anyway.
No introduction?
No introduction. No, we'll give you a little bit of an introduction. The most appearances for Australia by any female. Mm-hmm. How many?
251. And there's been a second player achieve over 200 matches. Do you know who that person is?
Got to be Belinda Clark.
No. There wasn't enough.
Currently playing?
Currently playing.
Lisa Perry.
That's right. Yeah. You got it.
Played her 100th international T20 during the World Cup.
So Elise Perry's the only player, male or female, for Australia to play 100 T20 internationals, and she became the second female to play over 200 matches. So she joins me. I think she's definitely going to surpass it if she wants. But you mentioned Belinda Clark, my hero, legend of our game, probably our best ever captain, and we didn't play enough cricket probably back in the day when Belinda was emerging. I think she captained at age 21 or something. But yeah, definitely playing a lot more cricket now. We've just come back. The Australian women have come back with the T20 World Cup trophy for a 4th time. They're a very good side, and I'm now enjoying watching them.
Yeah, well, nice deflection. I want to talk more about you.
Okay.
Talk about peaks and pinnacles.
Yep.
You captained Australia.
I did.
I mean, that's got to be up there as probably, looking back at your career now, as obviously one of the highlights.
Absolutely. I mean, to represent Australia in one match, let alone 251, is a great honour. And then to also be asked to captain the side. And Brittany mentions the 2011 Test match when Renee Farrell got a hat-trick, and I became a Test captain that day, and those 4 days, and it was an absolute honour to captain in the baggy green, to win a Test match as well. So I'm 1 from 1 in Test cricket. So pretty good record, 100%.
One from that, one from
100% win record in Test cricket, and also I guess my absolute highlight, captaining Australia to a T20 World Cup victory, and that was in 2010. You might remember that one. We only scored 106 runs against New Zealand, a very, very good side in the final, and we made it enough runs. Unbelievable. It was incredible pressure to be under. I threw the ball to Elise Perry to bowl the last over. Can't remember exactly how many runs were required, but New Zealand needed a boundary off the last ball. Sophie Devine, an absolute amazing boundary hitter, to face the last ball from Elise Perry, and down comes the ball, and then Devine smashes it back towards the stumps, and Pez gets a boot on it, and from that moment we just went nuts. And to know we'd won a World Cup, and for me to have the honour to lift the trophy, it was unbelievable.
Yeah, absolutely. You've also played, obviously, all formats now, and that's, I guess, something that girls like Belinda Clark didn't get the chance to do. They didn't get to experience the growth and moving into things like T20.
Yep.
There's also your amazing record for the Breakers and the amount of WNCLs that you guys have won. An amazing career, and you've been retired now for coming up
7 months or something.
Yeah, well, from international career, it's been over a year. I think October 2017.
So the Ashes was my last series. So my retirement from international and New South Wales cricket was in February.
Yeah.
So not too long ago, and a lot's happened since then. But you're right, T20 cricket has emerged more recently. So actually, Belinda Clark played one T20 for Australia, and it was the first ever T20 the Australian women have played, and I was a part of it.
Yep.
So Belinda is number 1 T20 cap.
Okay.
I'm number 2.
Right.
And do you know who number 3 is?
Rolton. No.
Very, very close to me.
Oh, your sister.
Twin sister.
Twin
That's
sister.
right. And actually, when T20 first came about in 2005, in that first game, Kate and I were a bit cheeky, actually. We switched our shirts. So identical twins trying to fool the commentators. But as it turns out, if I took a catch, it would have gone to Kate's record. So it was silly, really. But I guess that shows just how T20 has emerged now as it's the pinnacle of our sport. We took that first game as a bit of a hit and giggle.
Yeah.
But it's become a huge part of the business for both men and women.
Yep.
But obviously with the WBBL, which I continue to be a part of, it's allowed greater opportunities for women and girls, but also for families to come and enjoy cricket. And it was unbelievable to be at Junction Oval this weekend for the opening round. Thunder had a good win, Sixers lost, and we get to play each other. I've got to mention
There's the rivalry coming out already.
Well, it's on.
We're playing this
Saturday night, North Sydney.
Notice you give me a little bit of an insight into what twins get up to as well. But we won't talk too much about that.
So look, obviously playing cricket in the Australian team with my twin sister is my ultimate highlight. But yeah, I continue to play for the Thunder and looking for another title. The Sixers have the last 2 consecutive, and Thunder are going to make it 2 from 4 this year.
Now, a question to you two guys. Were you surprised when this girl decided to retire?
I think so, but I mean, we've just become so used to seeing her in green and gold and blue because she retired from the Breakers squad as well.
Yep.
So I think one of the really great things to see was the hashtag Thanks Alex that came out. We all had a lot of fun with that, sharing some of our favourite memories of Alex. But I think it was pretty cool that there was such a deal made about her retirement because she has done a lot. We've just spoken about how much she's done for Cricket Australia. So it was really nice to be able to celebrate that because I know former players would have just gone and it would have just sort of been like, slap on the back, thanks for your work. So it was nice to celebrate it.
Well, I guess that's kind of a little indication of where women's cricket is at the moment. The fact that you were able to receive the recognition that you deserved. Stewie.
Well, I thought you might have had another couple of years to go. I mean, especially maybe for New South Wales. Obviously, lots of talent in the New South Wales squad, but sometimes you look at it and you take a few players out and think, well, a lot of it becomes a very young team very, very quickly. So and then also you've played for a long time, so it's sort of it's what we sort of sometimes forget. You've been doing it for a long time. There might be other things that you want to do, and
that's right. I think that's the main point, Stu. I've played cricket for Australia for 15 years and New South Wales for 17. So it's a long time, and it got to the point where I started to get a bit edgy, ready to do other things. And also it was important to me to finish at the top of my game. I didn't want to drag on too long. I think that's probably an opportunity to maybe go one year too many. But obviously with the opportunity to play for the Sydney Thunder still, I think that's sort of the pinnacle of domestic cricket for women at the moment. The WNCL hard-fought competition. If you get to play for the Breakers, then you're halfway to playing for Australia. Yeah. It's an extremely strong side, and there was so much depth there that I felt the team didn't really need me now, and I've got an opportunity to contribute in the game in many other ways. An opportunity to commentate for the World Cup final. That was awesome. I got as nervous as I would have, though, I think, as a player. And now also sitting on the board of Cricket New South Wales. So, it's the game has given me so much, but there's so many more opportunities now that I'm really looking forward to exploring. Yeah,
I was a bit surprised, mainly because I was still seeing you train so hard, and I just revert back to that T20 innings against India in the semi-final in the previous World Cup.
So you're saying a T20 innings, but it was in an ODI?
Yeah, was it? 50 overs. Yeah, 50 overs.
Okay, well, it was late at night. Yeah. It was late at night.
It's easy to confuse it because I did play like a T20 style.
It was an amazing innings, and I thought, she's still at the top of her game, but I suppose you went out in your own terms.
That's right. You're right. That 90 of 56 balls in the ODI World semi-final.
It was a T20 innings.
It was a shortened match. It was a rain-affected match, only 46 overs. But I've never played that well. Yeah. And to bring out my best when it really mattered was something I'm very proud of. But to have a world record 10th wicket partnership with Kristen Beams, we needed like 112 runs off 55 balls with 1 wicket in hand. Yeah. It looked like it was all over, but I guess what we demonstrated, Kristen and I, in that moment, the never give up attitude of the Australian cricket team. Yeah. I'm sure we'll start talking about the blokes at some point in this podcast, but that's I guess what I want to see from all our Australian cricket teams, that never give up attitude. My best ever performance wasn't quite enough to get our team over the line. However, it's something I am proud of, and I think it's hopefully left an impression on the women who remain in that side.
Yep.
To never give up, and you just never know.
With that match, Alex, did you obviously knew it would be your last World Cup, but did you know that this was my last innings, and did that come as a factor?
Look, a lot of people have sort of asked me about how long I was going to play for. For the last couple of years that I played, that question happened a lot. I think it's a little unfair of senior cricketers. You get that question really early.
I was going to say, when are you going to
wrap up?
When are you finishing? You finish and you move on?
That's right. So, look, my focus was playing my best cricket for Australia to help us win a World Cup. So I was peaking for the World Cup final, which we didn't quite make it to that game. So scary how I might have been able to perform in a World Cup final if that was the World semi-final. But look, I had in the back of my mind, if we were to take home a World Trophy, to potentially retire at Lords. So look, that was in the back of my mind. I'd performed my best ever in the semi, and I carried on that form into the Ashes, which happened soon after that, and to help us win the first Ashes ODI, and to contribute throughout the series, and then to finish up with an Ashes win. So yeah, look, you just don't know how things are going to turn out. I probably played a longer innings for Australia, 15 years, than I would have anticipated as a 19-year-old getting picked for the first time. So very proud of my contribution as a player, but yeah, looking forward to how I can contribute in the game. There's, as I said, so many different opportunities now.
Yeah, so what's on the horizon now? What have you been up
well,
to?
If I try and summarise the last 7 months since retiring, I previously had one really clear focus, and that was to be a professional cricketer. That one role has now turned into 5 roles within cricket. So I'm a professional cricketer for Sydney Thunder, still the captain of that side. I've done a head coach role in that short time. So over in England, I coached the Lancashire Thunder. So if Thunder's in the team name, I've got a good chance of getting involved.
Yep.
I'm a director on Cricket New South Wales board. I was the first female elected.
Ever appointed, yeah.
The first female elected onto the board. We've had appointed directors previously. I'm a commentator. Had an opportunity on Fox Sports and Macquarie Sports Radio. And I'm also actively promoting cricket under a Cricket Australia banner. So, so it's gone from 1 role to 5 roles, and I'm really busy. I don't know how I used to fit it all in, but yeah, I guess I'm fitting more in and making the most of. 15 years, 17 years for New South Wales, and you accumulate a lot of expertise over that time. So, I really would like to see more and more male and female cricketers remain in the game and keep giving back. And I guess I look to try and do that wherever I can.
Mm-hmm. The World T20 Cup just recently, which you commentated in, were you surprised by their success?
Were you, Hamish?
Well, it was a newish team.
Yeah.
It was a newish team, a few new faces injected into the lineup, and I was worried about India.
I was too. I was actually reasonably happy we didn't have to play them in a semi-final.
Absolutely. So, I was a little bit, and I probably didn't expect Alyssa Healy to perform so well, but I think we know that she's capable of doing it.
We've seen it for years, haven't we, the style in which she plays, but to be so dominant.
She's become a lot more consistent. I think that the WBBL has been good for that. She bats at the top of the order, and she was successful. Well, probably the last 2 seasons for the Sixers, so she's got a lot more successful. Obviously, early on in her international career, she was a bit up and down, and she could sort of bat anywhere depending who was in the team, and she was a bit inconsistent at the top of that order, but I think it just comes down to experience, and she's got better at how she goes about it.
Have a bit of a guess here, but I think her opportunity to lead a team. She's led the Sixers when Elise Perry was injured.
Yep.
And did very well there. She got a taste of leading a side in WBBL, but now I'm not in the Breakers. Elisa Healy has stepped up into the captaincy, and she's just gone from strength to strength. I've never seen her fitter. She's worked really hard on that. She's sort of leading by example now, which we always knew she could. And I think she's just sort of taking her game to a new level. How have you observed Elisa over the last couple of years?
Oh, it's interesting. I remember commentating on some of the Breakers games last summer, and the media manager at the time was saying, I really want, Elisa to have a good innings here because she really wants to take that spot at the top of the order. I can't even imagine her not opening the batting for New South Wales, Australia now. So the fact that she's really worked hard on being consistent, because as we know, she used to be someone that, could hit big, a bit like Ash Gardner, but she wouldn't be there for a long period of time. So she's obviously done a lot of work mentally about how she plays the game and when to rein it in and when to, play the boundary shot. And I think it's a credit to her. And she is a very cheeky character. But it's really nice to see that leadership quality come out, as you mentioned, Alex.
And I think her maiden 100 for Australia over in India signalled to her she belongs. And since then, she's just taken off. And we see the style that she plays. It's a really enjoyable style to watch, and now she's playing big innings, not just short little cameos now. So good on her, and let it continue for a very long time. We've got a T20 World Cup at home to look forward to next. The girls will be defending champions in 2020. Lots of pressure on them, I think, to perform. Everyone wants Australian cricket to be strong, and this will be a flagship sort of event for cricket in this country.
For you girls, was it ever a situation just recently, because obviously the spotlight on men's cricket hasn't been very positive of late, was this an opportunity for the women to say, we're flying the banner at the moment?
Well, I tell you what, we mentioned Belinda Clark. The Australian women's cricket team has been strong for a very, very long period of time, and we're just starting to see, oh, wow, look, women's cricket's a thing and it's out there. In actual fact, it's been strong for a long time. It's just that we've got more eyeballs on it now. And probably more eyeballs on it when the men's team was in the media for the wrong reasons. And it was really wonderful to see all of Australia turn to the women's team and go, well, we can be proud of this side. Not only their performances, but I guess the way they carry themselves. They are a great example to anyone, really. And what I enjoyed, they performed under pressure. They were favourites to win the T20 World Cup, and they came home with the trophy, but the way they played, they just looked like they absolutely loved it over in the Caribbean. Twice we've travelled there for a T20 World Cup, and twice we've brought home the trophy. So
should get them
good signs, yeah.
Brittany, in the media that you're involved in, do you find that during that period there was more positivity towards female cricket? I mean, we tend to follow social media and some of the comments that are made, and it's ridiculous at times. But did you find yourself that there was a bit of a movement in that direction?
Definitely, and I think it's interesting that Alex says that Australia has been successful in the women's cricket domain for such a long time. I don't think that the women were really thinking about jumping on an opportunity when the men did poorly. I think they were just going as business as usual, and it was just so happened to be that there's more media coverage now, as Alex mentioned, and people actually know some of the names from the Women's Big Bash and the promotion that has got for the Australian women's team. And I just think that it's about time that they got the recognition they deserved. And in a way, it's not men versus women. We've been having this discussion on our podcast this week. It's just interesting now that a lot of the media is turning to the women's team and saying, well, what can the men learn from the women? Whereas the women have just been going about their business as they have the whole time. Alex mentioned that they have a really great culture in the World Cup team. And that's been really pleasing to see too, that they've all got massive smiles on their face. I know that we're quite critical of New Zealand men's cricket and the way they play. Apparently it's too friendly. And now the Australian men's team apparently needs to be more aggressive. So, where do we draw the line? What's aggressive and what's friendly and what's respectful? The Australian women's team seems to be able to play the way they play and have all those qualities. So, yeah, it's an interesting time for cricket, I think.
On that point, yeah, be nice, be aggressive. The girls have always tended to be more of a play positive, and there's not that sort of sledging. And it would say, why do you think that is? Why is that in women's cricket? Is that just how it's always been played? Look, is it because of there's been less focus?
I wonder if it comes down to being more grateful as well.
Look, I think it's easy to assume that the women's game is just as nice or really nice and friendly. It's actually
you play tough, like it's tough cricket. It's very competitive, but it's sort of you don't seem to get those flash points, and there's not someone designated in the team to go out and sledge the opposition.
Yeah, look, when you play for Australia, you're playing to win.
Yeah.
And I think what we've focused on is how we play and to never give up, and that's what playing hard cricket looks like for me.
Yeah.
The attitude that you've got pride in what you're doing, and you're doing it to the best of your ability, and you never give up. And I guess there's been use of like aggressive sort of behaviour or language in various cricket, not just the Australian men's team. It comes out in all sport too. So it's really up to the individual as to how they want to carry themselves and what makes them perform at their best. So I would say that in the Australian women's team there's been such a level of focus, pride, and just real energy towards what they can control. And at the end of the day, you want to be able to leave the field and be proud of how you've gone about it. So I can say that with the Australian women's team, I'm really proud of the way the players have carried themselves for a very long period of time.
Now, jump on me if I'm out of order, but aren't women just nicer human beings? So I
think, again, an assumption.
Yeah.
I mean, one way to look at it is the women are getting the attention they deserve.
Yeah.
And there'll be more cameras, there'll be more microphones. Yeah. And it's just as likely that a female would slip up on the field as it would a man.
Of, the Women's Big Bash. There has been some moments where some fiery things have been said. Yeah. You might just have missed it.
And I think that's great because the women now, they are role models.
Yep.
I've had this conversation with Corinne Hall, who plays for Hobart Hurricanes and works here. She didn't really realise how much of a role model she was. And it's as soon as you're playing for a WBBL side, you're on TV and you are now a role model. Everything's captured, and it's a bit of a wake up call for us all to consider. There's young kids watching us, and you do want to, I guess, reflect behaviour that would be suitable for them. But in the heat of the moment, stuff happens.
Yeah,
bats can go flying in the dressing room. I've seen a few holes in the wall. It's not a good sight. There's the same level of emotion, but so I guess there's two parts to it. Have there not been as many microphones and cameras and to capture these incidents?
Yeah.
Or are the women playing in a better spirit? There's probably and I think we should just not assume that guys don't do it well and girls do it well.
Yeah.
Each team's going to be different.
Yeah.
I mean, you mentioned New Zealand, a team that does it well, and I think each team's going to have their own characteristics, and we can't sort of force them to be like any other team. They need to come up with what they're proud of and what makes them perform at their best.
Yeah, I guess I sort of come from my own experiences being in and around women's cricket. I was lucky enough to coach the New South Wales girls under-18s for 3 years. Had a little bit of exposure coaching at Breakers level for a bit with you guys. Stewie, you've obviously had a lot to do with women's cricket with your sister being a very established high-level cricketer in Sarah Ailey. With my own coaching, particularly the under-18s, I just found that they were a lot nicer and easier to coach than some of the boys at that same age group.
Yeah, they're potentially really willing to learn and potentially young women, they don't think they've got it. They don't think they're there yet. Whereas maybe young men can get a bit of ahead of themselves sometimes. That might be what you're experiencing. But as I said, it might not. It could be a slight generalisation to think that that's what's going to happen every time.
Yeah.
But on the whole, I think young women, they see the wonderful opportunities ahead of them, and they tend to play themselves down rather than play themselves up on the whole.
Yeah. How do you think the girls are going with that sort of greater scrutiny and focus and, realising that, maybe I am now a role model if, I'm on TV and people are coming to the games and they want photos and autographs and they want to...
Well, I guess it's sort of maybe an observation you guys can reflect on. I mean, the WBBL, we understand that's about engaging new fans to the game, and we do put effort into... Any chance there's a kid that comes up and wants a photo, we say yes. The default is yes, that's totally cool, let's do that, rather than no, I'm too busy, I'm too important.
Yeah, well, I see a girl that I had in one of my under-18s teams now sort of growing in stature in Maisie Gibson, one of my favourites. She seems to be handling it really well, to be truthful. She seems to... be out there and getting in amongst it and promoting the game and the Thunder in particular very well. So I think, a lot of those girls are probably handling it very well. And they always get a bit of media training as well, don't they?
Yeah. bit of media training, but at the end of the day, someone like Maisie,
Yeah.
just a character. So
Yeah.
you know,
She's a bit out there,
you
isn't
and
she?
you don't want to media
the
train
press-
the character
Yeah,
out.
that
No.
also- Yeah.
Which I think is easy to do with more scrutiny. So,
Yeah.
It's an interesting question, though, because it's something that we've been talking about as well on Ladies Who Legspin. In our first season of recording, everything was fantastic, everything was amazing, and most of the efforts are. But we used to shy away from talking about the negative aspects of a game, whereas now we think the women's game can't grow unless we criticise it the way that the men's game is criticised. So obviously, you know, there's constructive criticism and there's analysis, and then there's, you know, bad criticism. But yeah, we try to analyse the game in a way that, you know, this performance wasn't great. Hopefully they can get back to their best. But we think that's an important part of analysing
But
it
something
now.
that I wanted to sort of touch on and talk about was, so the coverage has sort of been, oh great, you know, oh look how good women's cricket is, you know, it's nice that they're playing, oh they've got this coverage, it's all really nice, but then getting into that sort of criticism of a performance and how would that maybe be perceived in the wider
I think
the wider public?
we now expect that should happen, and it legitimises what we're doing. We can see straight through it when there's fluff, and you know, we probably go to the World T20 final, whereby Australia didn't play their best game, and they still won the tournament. Dropped a number of catches. It wasn't to the standard we expect of an Australian side, and they, as a side, would recognise that too. They wouldn't expect to for that to not be spoken about. And I think that's where we've got to now.
Yeah.
You know, it's a team that the country is very proud of, but at the same time, they're going to have comments about it and have their own opinions.
I saw someone was critical of Mel Jones after that final because she actually asked Meg Lanning, we've got to talk about, you know, the elephant in the room. The fielding wasn't great. And someone said to me, they won. Why would she even be bringing that up? But that's important because you've got to hold the team to be accountable. Yeah.
That's right.
And and like you said, that makes it legitimate. It makes it that we're looking at their performance and we expect them to play at a certain level. We've come to be accustomed to how they should play, and if they don't play at that level, then
I think that an interesting point there is professionalism in the game now, and so there's greater expectation, but at the same time, that professionalism has been in place for such a brief period of time in the history of the women's game. So I can't wait to see where this game is going to be in 5 years' time when we've had professionalism for about 8-9 years, and you know, the standard that is possible, it's already a great standard, but what is possible, you know, and let's not put any limits on it.
Yeah. Now, talking about the meter, and you guys, you are now obviously involved and you're heavily involved, you know, we're talking about bringing that negativity out or talking about the negative things. Is there a perception that that's what the public now thrive on?
Oh, everyone loves to be enraged these days, don't
Because,
they?
well, that's what I'm finding, but also, you know...
Even yesterday, the Ballon d'Or,
yes.
I don't know if you saw that.
I heard about it on
the first
on the
female
radio,
presented the same award as a male, and she was asked to twerk on stage after she won. So, yeah, everyone loves to be enraged these days, if that's what you're asking.
Yeah, well, it seems to be what sells the newspaper. We're sort of tending to really harp on the negative things because it seems to be what people want to read, which is disappointing, I suppose. Anyway, enough on that. I think it's time we talk some WBBL because obviously the competition started last weekend. Huge weekend in Sydney coming up. Personally, how are your preparations coming along? Given that you haven't had a lot of cricket.
Yeah, look, I haven't been in a elite setup as a player since February. I did coach, and in that I learnt a lot, coaching a T20 side and seeing it from another angle. And I guess that's informed me as a batter in this Thunder WBBL side, what I now want to bring. I've been sort of the mainstay of the batting lineup and a bit of an anchor, I guess, for that Thunder side. And as you know, the oldest player in the side, the most experienced, I'm thrilled to see the young players emerging, like Naomi Stallenberg, batting at 3 now. So her elevation up the order, I want to come in and have impact. That's basically as simple as I want to put it. So as long as, or as short as I'm out there, I'm having a positive impact on the game. And I think, I've come off the field at times over the last couple of WBBLs and gone, I actually took away from our momentum in that. And you just can't afford it now. We're learning how to play this game T20. You've got 11 batters, and you want each of those 11 batters, if they have to bat, to have that positive impact on the game. So, 15 off 8 on the weekend, went out swinging.
Yeah.
Just wanted to kind of make sure we didn't let that game get down to the last couple of overs, because you just never know, chasing a low total.
So does this mean that your batting training now is completely different to what it would have been in previous seasons?
Well, I'm only a T20 cricketer now, so I can really focus on how to be explosive, how to have impact immediately when I go out there.
Yep.
I'm not looking to take on all the responsibility necessarily in the batting order. I think our responsibility as T20 batters is to make the most of the balls that we do face. Whereas probably in the past I was such a great one-day batter, took a lot of responsibility to anchor the side, to build big partnerships.
Yep.
But, yeah, I think I can't wait to just go out there with a bit more freedom. Also, I don't have anything to prove. I'm there to enjoy myself too, and to also mentor the young players who are coming through. And I must say, our bowlers, we elected to bowl first on a worn wicket, and largely that decision is to get out there as a team in the first game. But the confidence I have in our bowling group, they've just matured so much in the short time I have retired, 7 months. So I see Belinda Vakariwa saying to me at the top of her mark, right, this is the field I need. Oh. And I'm like, right, here comes the slower ball. And then she goes, okay, this is what I need now. And then I'm like, here's the bouncer. So she's just got great maturity now in her bowling. And I can say the same for all our bowlers.
I have a question for you, Alex. All of the Thunder batters got out to Taylor Volemic.
That's right.
On the weekend. What was she like to face? Because we've heard so much about she's the next big thing for pace when it comes to the Australian women's cricket team, and we haven't seen so much of it yet.
Yep. Yeah. It was her WBBL debut actually, and she got four of our wickets. I feel a bit annoyed. I got the upper hand in the over I faced against her, and then coughed up my wicket on the last ball, probably being a little too aggressive and ambitious. But she bowled well. She's sharp. She's got a slingy action, and she's got wonderful change-ups as well. So she got Naomi Stallenberg with a back-of-the-hand slower ball that she bowled sort of into the wicket, and it was a worn wicket, and the pace bowlers who used the surface bowl into the wicket, maybe across seam. It just sort of generated an uneven sort of bounce and pace off the wicket using those methods. So she did well. As well, teaming up with Leah Tahuhu. Probably the fastest bowling combination in this WBBL. So the Renegades have a great bowling attack. Tahuhu one end, Vlaminich the other end.
Yeah.
Quite intimidating. And, that's what we want as batters out there. You want to be tested.
Probably good to see us in the women's game. You've got some quick bowlers, and it's it makes it a bit more exciting for the people watching.
There's more Yorkers, there's more bouncers, there's more slow ball bouncers. We're seeing these skills emerge because the batters have sort of taken the game to another level. You saw Ash Gardner hit 100 in the WBBL opening round last year. We saw Lizelle Lee hit 100 down at Junction Oval.
We're not going to mention that.
We shouldn't. Who was it against? The Sixers, that's right. But look, the batters have sort of taken the game to a new level over the last couple of seasons, and now we see the bowlers responding. And I think this sort of tussle between the batters and bowlers is really fascinating. Even our spin bowlers, Maisie Gibson, leg spinner, I'm thinking, she could either bowl power play, or she could bowl death, or she could be bowling in the middle. The skill she brings now as a leg spinner, it's bringing a lot of opportunity to our bowling order. We're looking in good shape.
Obviously, I have an important question, Hamish, because it's Sixers Thunder on Saturday. Is Harmanpreet playing on Saturday?
She's not yet in the country.
Oh, that's good. Good news. Is she due to arrive by Saturday?
Plus, you're thinking of this from a Sixers perspective.
Yeah. I'm completely biased. Yeah.
Look, I can't wait to see her, Stu. I can't guarantee when she's going to be here, but she's an important part of our lineup. We've had one win from one game. Add Harmanpreet to the mix.
She's
she's a game
Going to make it a good batting lineup.
It's a very good batting lineup. Yeah.
Can you fit her in? Where are you going to fit her in?
Oh, I think I'll have to slide down the order.
Who's the unfortunate player that misses out? I mean,
exactly. We've got this. We've got a strong side, a winning formula from the weekend. Someone will miss out, obviously, if Harmanpreet is here, and who that person is. It'll just come down to matchups, the wicket, the opposition. Great that we got 15 people to pick from. We got a couple of youngsters. Hannah Darlington. She captained the Indigenous Thunder women's side recently, and she's a star of the future. I'd love to see like a Hannah Darlington or Rachel Treneman get a game this year. They've been in our rookie system for a while and now fully contracted. So, Rachel coming from Wagga. It'd be nice to see another Wagga player in there.
Okay, so we've seen the Sydney teams pretty much dominate the WBBL so far. Could this potentially be the year where someone else from outside of Sydney takes the cake, or are we still? What are your predictions?
You guys are across the teams. Who do you think are most threatening?
I've got my eye on the Scorchers.
Okay. Yeah. What in particular? They do have Meg Lanning. Their top
3 is pretty.
They've
pretty
recruited
good.
Well, let's just say, over the last couple of years, because they've got a few.
Christina Matthews, CEO over there, doing a great job.
She's obviously still got a bit of clout, Christina. I just think they've got a pretty good squad together. Their batting's pretty deep, and
I think young Heather Graham as well.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Look out for her.
Well, we're hoping so. Well, we're hoping so as a King Sport girl.
One of the 17, I think, playing for WBBL.
Something like that, yeah.
Amazing.
Yes. What about you, Britt? Who do you think could?
I'm smiling a little bit. I've actually tipped the Strikers to either make the final or go all the way. I just think they are a great team. We saw them make 173, which was the highest on that Junction Oval wicket. I just think it's sort of now is the time for them to shine, and they've got some great bowlers as well. Like Megan Shooter's been on fire for Australia. Sophie Devine's another good bowler. Tali McGrath's growing every game.
Got Sarah Coit switching over from sixes
back to the
She was just lethal coming in for the sixes last season.
Player of the final.
But I was impressed with the Strikers on the weekend. I saw them play, and so like their batting's obviously good. It does rely on a bit on Devine and Bates at the top. Obviously Devine came off and got him a total, but their bowling was really good.
I think the Strikers' bowling attack is very threatening. So I agree. I think Strikers, obviously I'm going to say Thunder's up there, but you're right, Hamish. I mean, for the first 3 years of WBBL, the Sydney teams have succeeded, and I think that reflects on our development programs in New South Wales. Such depth in our pathway. The Breakers they're going for their 20th WNCL title this year across 23 years, I think.
Years, yeah.
So dominant. We've actually had a resignation of our CEO, Andrew Jones.
Yes.
He's been there for 5 years. He's had a much greater and longer impact on the game through strategy at Cricket Australia level. But, people like that who have ensured the strength of cricket for women in New South Wales, and then you see the results.
Yeah.
So I would say Sixers, Thunder, Strikers, Scorchers make the semis.
Yep.
I think it's hard to go past the Sixers as well, just because of the form that their players had in the World Cup. But I was trying not to pick a Sydney team with that Adelaide Strikers tip, to be honest, because what's exciting is that we have so many other teams pushing for contention now, and it's actually really cool that the Hurricanes did so well on the weekend as well, and the Stars, because they're two teams that have sort of struggled the last year or so.
Yeah, I had a conversation with Stars captain Erin Osborne at the toss, before she did her toss, and I think she was interviewed and came back and spoke to me and said, they've tipped Stars to finish last, and then Stars go out and absolutely demolish Sixers. So I think it's really dangerous to underestimate any team. I think in the first year, the Thunder were ranked 7th in the predictions, we end up winning it. So any team can win. Hobart Hurricanes looking great. The way that they used Erin Fazakali, who's I thought
was a bowler. I didn't. Yeah, what's she doing up in the batting?
Comes out, uses her long levers, hits these massive sixes. I thought set the tone beautifully for WBBL. So look, new coach down at Hobart, and they're looking to be aggressive with their decision making, and I think good on them. They've got nothing to lose. I think those underrated teams are the most dangerous ones.
What do you think the difference now, going back to WBBL 1 and a few years later now to WBBL 4, what are the main differences for you?
Well, I guess I mentioned earlier about how I think the bowlers are now responding to the onslaught of the batting that we've seen over the last couple of years. Last year at opening weekend, North Sydney Oval, scores of 200, and it's tough for bowlers. So the resilience that they've shown and that they've gone away, worked on their variations, the ability to have a plan and execute to that plan, I think that's the biggest thing I've observed throughout the 3 WBBLs thus far, and now going into the 4th WBBL. That's what I've noticed from my team.
That's a really good way of putting it, because I was thinking about the targets, and I remember at North Sydney when 200 was the new thing to get. That was the new target, and then we've seen that sort of come down since then. So that must be the bowlers coming back into it, Alex.
Definitely. I mean, Junction Oval wicket, still a very good batting wicket, but not quite the batter-friendly conditions that we're going to see at North Sydney this weekend. So it's just slightly smaller boundary, quick outfield, very good wicket. So
sixes on the roof again?
Yeah. Well, that's the plan, I guess. Ash Gardner, that innings last year. I hope we don't see a repeat because I'm playing against her.
Maybe
that's okay.
Maybe Friday night.
I'm happy for it.
What about Ash Gardner 100 versus Harmanpreet 100?
Yeah.
What a game that's going to be.
Well, it'd be entertaining for the crowd. I mean, the biggest thing I've said, obviously, is that the competition's probably is getting more even as, obviously, this standing comes up. I think, like the squads now, like you said, you've got 15 players that can play. You've got 15 people that doesn't matter whoever you pick, they're ready to go. Where maybe early on you probably had like your 11.
Yep.
You had your main 11, and there was a few, whether they were sort of rookies or just some that were just sort of
fielders,
fringe sort of players, or maybe just fringe just fielders.
Yeah.
But now I think the squads now you got to have 15. They have to do a job and be able to come in and do what's necessary.
One of the specifics is probably what we spoke about earlier, the pace bowling. So we're seeing Taylor come through. We've got in our team, we've got Belinda Vakariwa, also Lisa Griffith, who bowled 4 beautiful overs on the weekend.
First wicket,
yep. I think she's played 7 WBBL games, and that was her first wicket. So I think spinners used to dominate. Batters have responded to the spinners, and now we're seeing the pace bowlers come back with some strength. We've got Lauren Cheadle coming back through the sixes, and I think just more competition around that sort of pace bowling stock.
Obviously, aside from the actual playing, the competition has become now more of a standalone competition. Now, what are your opinions on that, given that there used to be double headers? I mean, are the girls going to miss that opportunity to play in front of bigger crowds when they play hand-in-hand with the guys?
No.
The gaps were too large between the double headers anyway, so it was silly. It was a concept that didn't work. I actually think we'll have
bigger crowds
because
of the standalone. Taking it to more suitable venues, boutique, smaller venues, we get, let's say, 3,000 people there. It feels like an absolute full house and great atmosphere. The families enjoy the grassed hill rather than the stadium.
And don't forget the final of the first edition of the Women's Big Bash was played at the MCG, and there was no one there, and that was a double header. So the fact that was the final, it was in the middle of the day.
They don't quite work. And
no,
they played their part.
Because you can't. I mean, if there was like maybe half an hour between games or something, you might.
And also, the team with the advantage was playing away from home.
That's right. So look, they played their role, the double headers, because the TV cameras were there set up, and the funds that it takes to set up the TV broadcast system. So now there's probably more money in the game to invest into either live streaming or getting cameras at the boutique venues, having it standalone, appropriate venue, appropriate time of the day.
Yeah, because that peak viewing for the final will be important.
That's right.
Yeah.
So, it's just the natural progression. The product is strong enough as a standalone. And also, I think it could have a point of difference over the Big Bash.
Yep.
So the Big Bash is at big stadiums. Parking's difficult. Families actually find it quite nice to be able to rock up to a community venue and have this amazing atmosphere, activations around the ground, ability to come and meet the players. So young boys and girls are getting more exposed to the athletes themselves. And, I think families might actually choose to go to the WBBL over the BBL because of what they get from that. It's a unique thing that they get from the WBBL.
Absolutely. Women's cricket, the direction. How are we thinking? What are we thinking there? Are we happy? Okay, let's pinpoint the area. Obviously, women's cricket has started to catch up in regards to professionalism.
Yep.
Is there still too much of a disparity?
Well, I think as grade cricketers,
I can't believe you're even classing me in the same.
Playing for Sutherland, playing for universities. We play Premier Cricket in Sydney, which has been strong, but a bit stagnant for a number of years. And this has been the breeding ground for New South Wales Breakers players and Australian players.
Yep.
What we're seeing is that there's this emergence of young girls playing the sport at the very young age group. So Sixers and Thunder girls cricket leagues have exploded. The number of girls-only teams for that sort of 12-year age group, really young kids, the numbers are really rising, but it's how we translate that into increased numbers in Premier Cricket. So there's a bit of a gap, and we haven't quite experienced that wave of new participants yet.
The year I signed up, there was myself and 3 others, and we were all 20s to 50s, I'll say. So that was really positive for the club because we were recruiting older people as well. This summer, we're struggling a little bit with numbers, and that comes with injury and work and everything. But I don't think there's enough being done at grade level to keep people around, and that's a bit sad. I'll give you an example. A couple of summers ago, we rocked up to Clark Reserve at Campbelltown to play, and someone had actually been on their ride-on mower around the pitches, but not on the actual ground. So we were playing in grass that was up to our knees. So you can't build a good total on that. And I think both of the teams just, put our arms up and went, well, this is going to be interesting. So when you rock up and you see things like that happen, it makes you think, well, they care about the top level, but do they care about us? And I think that is really damaging to women's cricket. And I hope that it's going to improve because, it's not good signs.
I think that there probably needs to be a focus on grade cricket in both male and female.
Yep.
'Cause, that's where you get your state players and your international players from. So I think there probably needs to be more of a focus.
Well, there's a positive about Steve Smith and David Warner and that going back to grade cricket in a way because there's been so much focus and people turning up to it.
Yeah, so that has been a positive for that. In terms of the women's game, obviously I've sort of gone along and watched my sister play a little bit for Bankstown this year, and I think it'd be good. I think coaching would be good. I don't know how many if a lot of the grade clubs have coaches. And so, not just for first grade, but for seconds and for thirds as well.
Yeah, that'd be great.
And for Brewer Shield, to try and get those. Of course, hopefully, like some of those girls that are coming through in the Thunder Leagues and stuff, if they're in the New South Wales Pathways programs, they're getting a lot of coaching. So you want to make sure that coaching level at the grade level is still good, and those that haven't been in that program can get coaching and improve because then if they're getting better, they tend to want to stay around. If you can be competitive and you know that when you're going out to bat and bowl, you're going to contribute, then you're likely to
that's
stay.
Right, because a lot of the younger ones coming out of Brewers might not be ready for first grade level, but they're perfect for third or second, but yet there's no coach there to encourage them or keep them going or improve them. So I think that's a good point.
Yeah, so getting the structures right, getting that environment right at club cricket so that young kids are well catered for. And I think there's greater coaching opportunities in cricket just generally because we've seen the other half of our game, the women's side, has emerged as professional opportunities, not just for players, but also we need more coaching.
Yep.
So I think there's an opportunity for all community coaches to consider, there's actually a pathway now to coach at a higher level. How do I get there? Well, the pathway is coach at your local club. And upskill with level 1, level 2 coaching. Yep. So I think we'll see it all happen. We need probably some patience. However, I think a bit more of a strategic view at New South Wales level, all the boards around Australia need to think about what's their premier cricket system looking like? How does it fit into the pathway, and have a bit of a longer term view around it.
You bring up coaching. I'm just going to do a little plug here for the ABC Cricket magazine. So I actually wrote an article this year that I decided wasn't going to be a fluff piece, because I'm usually asked to do a profile, which is amazing. But I actually spoke to Alex and said, what are the areas that women's cricket needs to focus on next? And I had a really good discussion with Jo Broadbent, coach of the Thunder and the Breakers, about how we can get more women involved in these coaching spaces. And she was saying we just need more to be more in the public, I think. So Jo doesn't really think she's told her story properly before. And she came up through grade cricket in Adelaide, I believe. So I think if people see someone like Jo Broadbent and the success she's had and how she did it, that might encourage them to get involved. There's some other areas that we discussed as well, like high performance managers, which is, the Big Bash clubs having someone that is focused completely on the women's side of things and then on the men's side of things, and organising those areas. Previously, there was only one of those as a woman over at the WACA, and she's now decided to let that go for other reasons, but that means that there are no women high-performance managers currently at any state. And also, we're talking about coaching a little bit. Pregnancy is one that I think is high importance for Cricket Australia to have a look at in the coming future. And I don't want to speak on the players' behalf, but you think of someone like Elise Perry, who's now married, edging towards her late 20s, Elisa Healy as well. Will they have an opportunity to have kids and come back to the game, or will they have to leave it till later in life? Because netball has really done a lot of work in this space, and they now have a pregnancy clause in place and babysitters in place. That means that, if you're someone like Beck Bully, who plays for the Giants, you might have retired from the Australian team and had a baby and thought that was it, but now we have a full-time babysitter for you, so come back and play, and we'll look after your child while you do all your training and everything. So that's something that they really need to look at as well. So there's still some key areas that we need to look at apart from pay, which obviously still needs to edge up. But yeah, there's a lot of work to be done at the high level and grade level.
In regards to pay, it's one of the great social media debates where you'll have people state the girls are still not getting paid enough, and then you'll have your keyboard warrior reply with, well, they're not pulling the same crowds, so they don't deserve the same pay, or the pay that's a little bit closer. What are your thoughts there?
I'll let Alex take the lead.
Oh, look, I don't think it's a simple answer or a short one, but it is a bit uneducated to think about that the women aren't pulling in the crowds or the attention or the important sponsorship dollars, and also the community impact as well. So it's not just about how many people come through the gate. It's about what the vision is for our sport, and it's to be Australia's favourite sport and a sport for all Australians, and that includes half of our population. So women play a huge role in the game of cricket. And when you look at our best cricketers and our most loved cricketers, there'll be a number of females in that list, probably in the top 10. So, young kids, boys and girls, and actually adults, look up to players like Meg Lanning. They look up to players like Ash Gardner now, and Elise Perry, Elisa Healy. And, these players are having a wonderful impact on the game to promote it. To promote what's possible in the game, and we've had the MOU last year, which did bring our pay system up to a gender equitable model, which was quite groundbreaking. And there's a system now in place whereby as our our leagues grow, the players will grow with them, with that league. So as the revenue increases, then the players will see the benefit of that. They're also rewarded from the marketing work they do in the game, and that's where people are paid for what they're paid what they're worth, And so there's quite an interesting system in place there, whereby some of our greatest cricketers, who are women, are actually performing very well financially right now. I think that there's a gulf, though, when we look at the domestic players, that they're still battling. They're just on enough to get by, and they're expected to do the same as what the very top players of our game are doing. So that's where, we probably need to just work on that gulf between the Australian players and the domestic cricketers.
And certainly that argument doesn't stack up when you look at the amount of people that rock up to Sheffield Shield games at the moment, or the amount of people that rocked up to some of the Australian games that have just happened. I know at the SCG the crowd was bananas and full of Indians, and it was really crazy, but I know that the crowd has definitely dwindled a little bit after everything that's gone on. So yeah, it's interesting, but I think if you're informed enough, like Alex said, the argument really doesn't add up.
Right, yeah. Well, I think we've probably, a great opportunity for people to learn about what the issues are have been discussed in this podcast. So I think we've done a pretty good job, but probably time to wrap it up because we've gone for a hell of a long time. So I just want to take the opportunity to thank you two for joining us, because it's probably been one of the more interesting topics and conversations that we've had on our podcast for a bit. Thank you, Stuart.
Thank you, Hamish.
Thank you, Alex.
Thank you,
Brittany.
Before we go, I just want to say thank you to you guys and the brand that you have, because you do so much for women's cricket.
Yep.
And I think you should be applauded on that, all the sponsorship you do, and really promoting some of the stars in the game.
Great bats.
Thank
you. I think it's about 7 years I've been using.
Well, I've grown up.
Sport.
I've grown up in this business, and Harry has always been a big supporter of women's cricket. I remember going and watching the girls play when I was 6-7 years old. The changes in the game from the way it was played back in the 80s to now is just phenomenal to have watched myself. Yeah. But he's always been a big supporter of women's cricket, and it's great to see that now through the Kingsport brand and sponsoring up to 17 players. Currently, and we really look forward to seeing those Kingsport bats fly around. Stewie, you want to give the listeners a little bit of an idea of who they need to be following?
Contact. All right, I'm not great at this, but I'll have a go. So obviously, you can watch us on YouTube. If you'd like to watch us, if you prefer to just listen to us and rather than just look at us, you can catch it on wherever you get your podcasts from, so iTunes and Spotify, or at kscpodcast.com. If you want to get in touch, always like to hear from people out there in the social media universe. We're on Facebook at Kingsgrove Sports Centre, Instagram at Kingsgrove Sports, Twitter at Kingsgrove Sport. Need to drop the S on Twitter, they don't allow for the S. And of course, always use the hashtag KSC Podcast.
Rightio. Thank you for joining us, and we'll catch you next time. Kingsgrove Sports Centre Podcast.
Bye for now.